Hello, Salesforce enthusiasts. Today, we're going to create a simple counter that tracks how many times an opportunity has been pushed, either into the next month or into the next year. We're playing on the competitive nature of your sales reps. We'll also be creating a dashboard that tracks these pushes, and you don't want to be listed on it. We'll be using Flow to track the pushes. We'll also build a report on these pushes and a dashboard component that's related to that report. All right, let's get into it. Okay, welcome. So I'm logged into my dev instance here. Before we start actually going through and configuring the push counter, I wanted to go over the design of the flow we'll be developing. This is kind of the underpinning that makes everything happen. So we'll reference this as we're building the flow, but essentially what we're doing is we're going to be setting a record triggered flow on the opportunity close date. And if an updated opportunity has a close date changed, it'll go through a decision element first. So the first one will check whether the new close dates month has changed, and whether the new close date is greater than the old close date. If both of these criterias are satisfied, then we'll update the push count by 1. It means that we've basically taken an opportunity into a forward month, into the next month, or 2 months ahead. If the months have not changed, so let's say the close date has changed, so it fires off this flow again, but let's say we're January 1st of 2023, we're pushing the close date to January 1st, 2024, then we're going to validate this through this decision element. So the month of the close date has not changed, but the year has changed, and the close date is greater than what it was, then we'll update the push count as well. And you'll see that in action, but I think this little visual helps in building our flow. But the first thing we want to do is we want to create a push count field on the opportunity. So if I go to a specific opportunity here and my details, I want to add a push count. We'll add it up here just for above the amount so that it's easier to track. So in order to do so, you can just access any opportunity, click on the settings cogwheel, and go to edit object. This will bring us into the setup for opportunity. And we want to access fields and relationship. And essentially, you'll notice that my push count field is not there. So we're going to create a new field up here by clicking on new. And this is going to be a number that we'll be incrementing. So the field type is number. I'm going to click on next. And over here, I'm going to call it push count. Length 18, no decimal places. Tab out of the field, this appears. So this is used in with flow to track opportunity pushes, push values on opportunity reports and reports and dashboards. Help text is what appears right beside the field for your users. So I'm going to put something here, number of times, and opportunity has been pushed from month to month. Okay, this looks good. Let's click on next. And over here, I want to make it visible for everybody, but read only, all but the system administrator. So whatever your sysadmin role is, uncheck read only because we want to have the ability to write as a flow user to that specific field. Click on next. We're going to add this push count field to all our opportunity layouts, and we're going to click on save. Now the next thing to do is to go to the page layouts, and we're going to add this push count field to our opportunity layout. So whatever layout you want to add it to, if you have more than one, you can do the following step for each one. So over here, it typically puts the field down here. I'm going to drag it, as I said, above here and click on save. So now if we go back to our sales app and access the opportunities over here, and I go to detail, I can view our push count field, and this is our little help text that we included once we created the field. And notice that I have update rights to it. Oh, actually, one last step. We don't want to have update rights on the field itself, so I'm going to go back to my page layout, opportunity layout, and over here, right by our push count, click on the little wrench icon for properties, and we want this to be read only because the flow is going to be the only thing that writes into the specific field. So mark it read only, click OK, and let's save it again. Now if I exit out of this tab, I'm back to my opportunity, refresh it. If I go to details, I can see my push count. It's still marked. Sometimes it takes a little while to refresh the read-only portion of it. All right, now we get into building our flow. So this is the fun part. So again, we want to replicate this little template here. So I'm going to go to Setup, and in the quick find, go ahead and type in flow. We're going to do flows. And once you're in the flow module, go ahead and click on new flow. And we'll be building a record triggered flow. So go ahead and select record triggered, and then we're going to figure out how the record is triggered to launch this flow next. So go ahead and select that and click on create. Now, this is where we define what kicks off the flow. So what do we want to trigger it on? The object is opportunity. So select that. And then we want this trigger to run only when a record is updated. So when a new opportunity is created with a close date, we don't need this flow to run. This flow is purely to calculate how many times an opportunity has been pushed out from month to month or year to year. So we only want this flow to fire off when an opportunity record is updated. And then not only that, we want to add conditions for the flow. We only want to, number one, kick off when a record is updated, but also when the close date is changed. So go ahead and select close date is changed, and then here for the value we have to pick global constant true. So this is basically saying if the close date is changed, is true, then go ahead and fire off this flow. And the last important thing here is we're going to use fast field updates. This is optimized for firing right before the record is saved to the database, which makes it quicker essentially. So fast field updates, and let's go ahead and click on done. Now we've got our start configured, which is essentially this green here. So opportunity close date has changed for our record trigger flow. Now we're going to move on to our first decision element. So has the months been changed, and has the close date been pushed forward to the original close date. So the next step after we have our trigger configured, we want to click on this plus here and select decision. This is going to be our first decision element. Our label is going to be does month defer. Always add a description. The label for our first branch is going to be yes underscore m. It has to be unique. So I'm going to use yes for the month branch and yes for the year branch, as you'll see in a second. And we want it to meet two conditions to go down the yes branch. The first of these conditions is going to be a variable type formula. We essentially want to capture the month value of the close date. So go ahead and click on new resource here. We want it to be a formula, and the formula will be called old close month. Captures old month value. Data type is going to be a number, no decimal places. And here you can have access to all the functions. I'm going to type month. So we want the month and then highlight the date. We're going to insert a resource here. So Flow gives you access to the record it's trying to save and the record that was prior to getting it saved. So we want the initial close date to compare it. I'm going to select that and then select close date. So this will return the month value. So if it's January, it'll return 1. If it's December, it'll return 12. We can check syntax, it's valid. Okay. So now the old close month, it does not equal to the new close month. So now we want to grab a new resource, again, of type formula. It's going to be new close month. Captures month value of new close date. The data type is going to be a number again, no decimals. And let's insert our month function again and highlight the date and pick the record opportunity of that's the new close date essentially. Check syntax, we're good, click on done. So here we're comparing old close month with new close month. And over here we want to make sure that the close date is being pushed forward as well. We don't want this to fire off if we're bringing a deal back in, so we wouldn't want to fire this trigger off, or at least count it as a push count because we're pulling the opportunity in. So we're going to do the close date. So the current close date, the close date we're updating it to is here, is greater than the original close date. So down here, record prior, what it was initially, close date, and here are our conditions. And so if it matches both these conditions, it'll go down a yes branch. If not, the default outcome, I'm going to call it no underscore m, just for clarity, and then click on done. So does the month defer? Yes and no. Let's go ahead and save our progress to date. So click on Save. And I always name my flows by which module they're being written to, or which object they're being written to, what type of flow it is. So in this case, it would be a record triggered flow, and then what it does. Push count close date change. I'm not going to put a description for the sake of time here. And then, okay, so does the month defer? Yes, we changed it from January 1st to February 1st of the same year. It goes down this branch. The next step is to make an assignment here first before we're updating push count. So we'll make an assignment. So click on the plus and select the assignment. Essentially what we want to do is assign the current push count value prior to incrementing it, right? So go ahead and click on assignment, and this will be called add to push. So we want to increment the push count by 1. So in here, we're going to create a variable to capture the original push count value. So go ahead and click on New Resource. And for the resource type, let's select a variable. And then the API name is going to be current push count. The data type is going to be a number of no decimal places. And here's the default value. So what we're going to be doing here is we want to grab the current value, prior to saving the record, the current value of the old push count. So we're going to select again record prior and the value of our push count. There's 2 here. Just select the one that has __C. The other one we don't see in the module. It's part of another SKU, revenue intelligence, which we don't have. So just select the one that has the __C, which means this is the custom field that we created. Once you have that done, click on OK. So current push count, not now what we want to do. So let's say the value was 5. We want to add 1 to it. And that's it. So we add to push count. We click on Done. And then we are at the step, so we did the assignment, we incremented push count by 1, we want to update the push count value of that record. So what we want to do is insert an update, and this label is going to be updates push count month. We're going to use the record that triggered the flow. We are not going to put a filtering conditions. We did that prior and steps prior. What field do we want to update? We want to update push count _C with our current push count, which we just assigned in the previous step. That's it. Okay, so if the month defers, we add to the current push count and we update the record. If it does not, if the month does not, so let's say we push it out by a year, so January 1st, 2022, we push the close date to January 1st, 2023, we want to do a comparison on the year. So over here, we are going to put a decision element again, and this label is going to be does year differ. And the outcome here is going to be yes with a Y because it has to be unique. And then we want 2 other formulas here similar to what we did for month. So what we want to do is a new resource. We want a formula, and this will be old close year. And then we're going to do one for new close year, and that's what we want to compare. Data type is going to be a number, no decimal. And the formula, there's also a function called year, which extracts the year of any date. So select year, go ahead and highlight date. And in here, we want the old date. So record prior close date. Check syntax, we're good. So old close year does not equal new close year. So let's go ahead and do a new formula variable here. New resource of type formula rather. And this is going to be new close year. Data type number, no decimals. Year as the function. Highlight date and choose the new record close date. Check syntax, we're good. Now, similarly to what we did in the month branch, we want to make sure that the close date, the new close date, is greater than the old close date. So that's simple enough. We just go to new close date, so this is record. And close date is greater than record prior close date. There we go, we have our conditions. And then in the default outcome here, I'm going to put no underscore y for year, just for clarity's purposes. Okay, here we go. All right, let's go ahead and save our progress to date. Now, the month does not defer, but the year defers. And essentially what we want to do is replicate this branch here to add the push count and update the push count because we're matching that criteria. Before we do so, let me rename this guy right here, add push count, by double clicking on it and then just adding a Y to it and to the API, I'm sorry, M to it because we're in the month branch, or else it will complain of duplicate naming. All right, so now we want to do our assignment on the add to push count year. We are going to select assignment, and this one is going to be add to push count Y. And then we already have our variable, which grabs the current push count of the record. And we are going to add 1 to it, exactly the same as we did for the month branch. Click on done. And now we are ready to, like we did here, update the opportunity record. So click on the plus below the assignment, update triggering record. That's going to be called update push count year this time. Leave that as is, no conditions since we validated at the top. The field is going to be push count underscore C, and the value is going to be the one we just assigned and incremented, current push count. Done. That's what your flow should look like. Go ahead and click on save. And we are ready to, I'm not going to debug it here. I like to live dangerously and just activate it. I'm in the dev instance anyway. So it's now active. Let's go ahead and test it. So let's go back to my opportunity. So here's opportunity for white. The close date is set to September 9th, 2019. Let's bring that over to today. Notice nothing in the push count. If I click on save, there's my push count is 1. Now, if I move it to the same month but just forward a couple days. That should not trigger the flow because we're moving it within the same month. Sure enough, it does not. If I move the close date to January and save it, sure enough, it updated the push count. Let's move it to February or March. That should, the first, so it should update the push count to 3. It did indeed. And let's move it to March of 2024, so the month stays the same. March 2024. That should update the push count to 4. It does. And let's bring it back to today's date. That should not update the push count. And it does not. So our flow is performing as expected, which is great. Let me just do a couple more opportunities here because I have a bonus for you guys where we'll do a quick dashboard to keep track of top pushers, which I think is a pretty interesting dashboard. So let's go ahead and move that to today. That should update the push count. And let me grab one last one. Details. And let's bring that to October, which should update it. And let's bring it to today, which should also update it. Excellent. Before we move on to creating a report and dashboard, if you got value out of this little exercise, I'd like to ask you if you could subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to miss any of these how-tos that we push out on Thursdays, then go ahead and click on that little bell icon. That will help the YouTube algorithm to, present this video to more people who might be interested. All right, let's move on to creating a report and then an associated dashboard that will make use of that push count field. All right, we can close out of these setup settings tab, setup tabs up here. And then I have a reports tab. Go ahead and access your reports. And we're going to create a new report. This report type will be based on the opportunities, obviously. So select opportunity, opportunity, and start report. And we'll want to do a couple things here in the outline. So we're going to configure the outline first, and then we're going to go into filters. So we want to group rows by opportunity owners right here. And then we want the push count. When you select the push count, please select the one under custom info. That's the one we created. This one is actually not accessible with the version that we have. So make sure to select custom info push count. And then what we want to do here, I don't want role, so I'm going to X that out. Account name, opportunity name, I'm going to drag it above account name. These are a little finicky sometimes. If you don't get it the first time, go ahead and try again. So account name, amount, then I want close date. And I don't need fiscal period. I don't need stage. I don't need expected revenue. That's fine. Created date is good. Next step, I'll put below close date. age under probability and create a date. I don't need lead source and I don't need type. So go ahead and hit pause and arrange your fields in this particular order. So you should have two fields at the top for the row grouping, opportunity owner first and push count. And then these columns on the bottom. Now, once you have these in this order, what we want to do is create one last column called a row level formula. So go ahead and drop down the little arrow up here and select row level formula. And in here, we want the amount. Let's give it a custom name, column name. So the column name is going to be amount. Essentially, we'll want to capture the sum of the amounts here. It's going to be a type number. And select amount and click insert and click on apply. Now we're going to click on save and let's go to filters first. So in our filters, we want to show all opportunities that are instead of current fiscal quarter, we're going to select current month or this month. So scroll down till you're in the month section and select this month and click on apply. Opportunity status is any, probability is all. We're going to add a filter for push count. Again, select the one that's under custom info because we only want to display push counts that are greater than 0. Apply. And then we also want to filter for open opportunities. We don't want the closed ones. So there's a special field in the opportunity object called closed, which is either true or false. So we want closed equal false. And this will remove any closed won or closed lost opportunities because we only want open opportunities. So filter by closed, false, apply. Now we can save and run our report by clicking up here, and my title is going to be push counts too many by rep. I like to clear this out here, go back up and retab out of it, and it basically grabs the API name from our report name. And then you would select a public folder for whoever you want to access it. So I'm going to do, in my scenario here, public reports, select that folder, click on save. And I have no result. Let's see why here. I'm going to edit it. Look at my filter first. All opportunities this month. Push count is greater than 0. Closed equals false. I thought I had opportunities that, they're closed won or closed lost. That was my issue. So let's go ahead and revert these. Obviously, it was not matching. So let's push back to a non-closed status. And then let's go back to my report and run it again. Sure enough, I have 3 total records. One opportunity that's been pushed out 4 times, one time, and one 2 times. I'm going to remove the row counts and the subtotals so it's a little more legible. And then we're going to add a chart. So go ahead and click on chart. and click on this little chart properties icon. Bar chart's fine. Chart title, I'm going to call it Stuck and Stale. X-axis, I don't want opportunity owner, I just want the push count. And then the sum of amount is fine here. Actually, let's do a, push count and sum of amount is good. So we could see now that I have $350,000 worth of opportunities that was pushed once, so much more pushed twice, and this sum of opportunities pushed out 4 times. Last thing we're going to do here is create a dashboard. So let's go to dashboard and click on new dashboard. Dashboard name is going to be, let's say, pipeline pushes. I'm going to select a public folder. Let's say new folder. Save it. And select the folder. Create. We're going to add a component. And over here, we're going to select our push count. Select. All right, we are going to leave it as display like this. The y-axis is going to be the push count. So let me exit out of that. Just have one y-axis push count. And then over here is going to be sum of amount. Let's use the shortened number. Let's basically leave all the rest the same here. I'm going to give it a title. I'm going to change the title to Stuck and Stale. I like the dark stage, the dark theme here, preferably. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Add. And there we go. You could save it. You have your dashboard. You can click on Done. You can subscribe to it so you get this little tutorial email to you on a weekly basis, for instance. But that's it. Creating a push count on opportunities and viewing it in a dashboard. Hopefully you found this helpful. Again, if you did, please subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you next time on some Thursday for the next Salesforce how-to. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We go through all our comments, and feel free to suggest any type of video how-tos that you'd like to see in the future. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.